Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be sharing my birth story with you guys. I had my baby girl on October the 2nd of this year. And yeah, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you already saw her in picture. I will try to go ahead and introduce you guys to her at the end of this video. But yeah, if you guys are not following me on Instagram, make sure you do. I'll leave my handle up here. But yeah, I really wanted to film a birth vlog, you guys, but it just was not possible with the way that things pretty much went out. I did actually kind of start to vlog, so I will insert the clips that I have into the video somehow, maybe like when I'm in that part of the story. But yeah, I just was not able to record with the way that things went down. So anyway, if you guys want to hear my birth story, please keep on watching. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into the story. Alright guys, so off the bat, please forgive me if I look super tired. I have a almost 2-week newborn and it's getting better. The first week was exhausting. This week is a little bit better, but I obviously look hella tired, and obviously it's normal. So anyway, okay, so basically, let's go ahead and just start with the story. So basically, I actually was having prodromal labor during the week that I had her. So if that basically means like I was like having contractions like already, like as if I was in labor like a few days before. So the way I kind of knew I was gonna like go into labor soon, or so I thought, was I actually had my bloody show on, let's see, I had it like a week before I actually had her. So September 26th, which is a Saturday, I actually started having like bloody show. And it was actually after like a really long walk we went with the kids. I had actually walked like every day for the last 2 weeks of my pregnancy. Before that it was like once or twice a week, but literally like the last 2 weeks we went walking every day for about an hour. So anyway, that Saturday I had like a bloody show, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, you read online you're gonna have your baby probably within like 48 hours. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go into labor. So I didn't go into labor obviously, but I actually did start having like contractions, which I thought were the real deal because they were consistent. Like I was able to time them, and they were about like every 10 minutes, but they were consistently. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna go into labor soon. And then they would just like literally like after 2 hours it kind of just went away. They didn't get closer together and they just like went away. And so I was like, okay, maybe they were Braxton Hicks, although they didn't feel like Braxton Hicks because I was having them all throughout the pregnancy, you know, and those are just more like uncomfortable, just like a really tightening sensation. And these were like crampy like contractions, but they were super painful because they were so spaced apart, but still. So anyway, it happened to me again like about 2 days later that week, and that time I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna like think I'm in labor. So I drank so much water, I stayed hydrated, I changed positions, I went walking, and they kind of did start going away. So I was like, okay, that's really weird. So obviously that's not the real deal. So then we fast forward to October the 1st. I was 38 weeks and 6 days, and I actually had started to kind of have contractions again that morning. So it was like maybe like 5 in the morning, and I was having contractions. I also had an appointment that day, and so I was like, oh my gosh, like it's perfect because if it's like the real deal, I can go to my appointment, she can check me, and if I'm in labor then I'll know for sure this time. So it was probably like 4 or 5 in the morning. I started having contractions that were like every 10 minutes apart, and then like 2 hours later they just went away. So I was like, okay, great, that freaking sucks. But I still went to my appointment. My doctor says, again, I wasn't having contractions anymore, so my doctor says that I was now 2 centimeters dilated. If you guys watched my I'm in labor vlog, I told you guys that the week before I was 1 centimeter. 1 centimeter or 2 weeks before I was 1 centimeter. I'm not sure. Point is, at my appointment for my 38 weeks and 6 days, I was 2 centimeters dilated, so I actually dilated 1 more centimeter between that week. So I feel like that prodromal labor, whatever, like it was obviously doing something because I dilated 1 more centimeter, and I was like now 70 or 80% effaced, I want to say. So she was like, okay, like your body's doing its thing, you're probably gonna go into labor really soon. And plus I had that bloody show, which I had been having like every single day since that Saturday, and we're now at Thursday. So I go home, and then it's around like 12 o'clock, and that's like around the time the kids have their lunch. They're doing virtual learning. So my son has his lunch and like his recess really close together. So I started having contractions again, same deal, like every 10 minutes apart. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go walking like right now, because all the other times I kind of just like slowed down and was like tracking them. So this time I was like, I'm just gonna ignore them and we're just gonna go walking. So I took my son like on his bike. while he was on recess, and I was just walking, and like I could tell they were getting more intense and that they weren't going away. So I came back home, I drank a lot of water, I started like bouncing on my yoga ball, and by this time it's maybe like 2 or 3 p.m. They're like every 8 minutes, so I'm like, okay, I think this is it, you know. So sure enough, I'm just tracking them. By like 5 p.m. they're about like every 6 or 7 minutes apart. They obviously still haven't gone away, so I'm like, okay. I told my husband, like, I think this is it. So I told him, I was like, yeah, I finished up your day at work and I think this is it, like I think I'm in labor. So I called my sister because she was gonna watch my other 2 kids for me while we were at the hospital. And I'm like, hey, you know, like I think I am in labor. And so she comes over, and my contractions at this point are probably still like every 6 minutes, and they were pretty like painful. Like I had to like, you know, kind of stop and breathe through them. I wasn't like, you know, in tears or anything like that, like super painful. Like it was bearable, but I was just kind of like, okay, like it's taking my breath away. I couldn't really talk through them. But they were still like every 6 minutes. So she was here about an hour, and then I was like, okay, yeah, they're like every 5 minutes. We went to the hospital, and triage was full, so I literally had to wait outside to get a room for about 20 minutes. And I'm just standing there like contracting and stuff. And again, at this point, they were just like every 5 minutes I was able to breathe through them. I was able to stand up because I was literally standing up waiting for a room, and it was fine. So they were so full that they literally put me in a room. Actually, another lady went at the same time as me, and they actually put us in like a big room where they just have curtains that divide pretty much like the beds. Like that's how full. There was no rooms in triage. So there was a lot of people that were in labor. And so I get into like a bed or whatever. The nurse checks me, and you know, I tell her, you know, I've been having contractions since like 12 o'clock. By this time it's like 7 p.m. by the time we get a room, I'm getting checked. And she's like, okay, let's check, you know, what were you in the office? And I told her. So she's like, okay. So she checks me, you guys, and I was exactly the same as I was in the office. So I was 2 centimeters dilated and about 70 or 80% effaced. I can't remember. And I was like so devastated, you guys, because I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm in labor, like this is it. So she's like, okay, you know, you could be in early labor. She's like, so let's just go ahead and put you on the monitor, and then we'll just check you in 2 hours. They had a midwife that did the rounds there. It's kind of in triage. So she was like, the midwife will come check you, talk to you, and then we'll recheck in 2 hours to see if you've changed. So at this point, I'm like, great. Like, I'm so upset because I'm just like, damn, like I really thought this was it. But I'm also still having contractions like every 5 minutes, and the machine was like actually picking them up. And by the time the 2 hours were done, I want to say my contractions were like every 3 minutes, and the monitor was able to get all that stuff. So at this point she comes and she checks me, and she's like, yeah, you're still the same. So it's around 10:30 at night, and I was like, oh, great. So the midwife comes and she talks to me, and she's like, okay, you know, like you obviously didn't make a change, so we do see that you're contracting, so it's possible that you're just going to come back in the morning and it's time, you know, obviously there's some kind of change, but for now we can't keep you. And so I was like, okay, my thing is like, what am I going to do for pain? I was in so much pain, you guys. I was on the verge of tears. I was just trying to keep it in because, you know, like, I don't know, I didn't want to be like that patient that's like super dramatic and making a scene and crying, but I was in so much pain, and I'm like that type of person that will just try to keep it in as much as I can, and when I let loose, like I let it out, like I freaking cry. So I was like keeping it in so much, and I'm just like trying to talk through them, and I'm telling her like, what can I do for like pain, because I'm in so much pain right now, and at what point do I come back if I'm contracting every 3 to 5 minutes? At what point do I know to come back? Does that make sense? Anyway, and she's like, well, I can give you some kind of medication that will take like the edge off the contraction, so that way you can actually just rest tonight, and then if you're in true labor, you're gonna still like be in labor in the morning, so you can come back in the morning. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, fine, I guess, you know, because she tells me she's gonna give me this medication, and I will actually put the name of it here. But basically, I looked it up, and it was like it's like a muscle relaxer / anxiety med. So I was like, okay, I'm not really, I mean, I don't think I was having anxiety. I'm assuming she prescribed it for like the muscle relaxing part, because you guys, when I was getting a contraction, which, and I have like a theory on why I think this happened to me, which I'll share in a little bit. But so obviously when you get a contraction, if you've had children, you already know this, but when you get a contraction, you know, like they'll be like every 10 minutes, every 7 minutes, they're gonna be consistent. And what happens is like your uterus contracts, right? And you're contracted for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, and then it lets go. So you have like a break in between each contraction to catch your breath, to kind of mentally prepare for the next one, and whatever and so forth. So what I was feeling was literally like, let's pretend like this is my uterus, whatever, right? It was contracting, you guys, and it would last like, let's say a minute, and then when it would like release, it like didn't release all the way, if that makes sense. Like I don't ever feel like I got like a full break in between contractions, and I do feel like maybe my uterus was like over contracting, or like I don't know how to explain it, but I was taking raspberry leaf tea, and that is supposed to kind of help. A couple things that I had read up on it, it's supposed to help like make your contractions more effective when you are in labor, and it's actually also supposed to help with bleeding postpartum. So a part of me, I actually even took it the day that I was in labor because I heard it would help, and a part of me feels like maybe that kind of overstimulating my uterus or whatever, and that's why like my uterus was like literally like over contracting, like it was like on overdrive, like I didn't get a break in between. And I want to say it had to do with that. Like that didn't happen with me with my other 2 kids that I had. It was like this, it was just, yeah, it was exhausting, and it was just like, yeah, it was so painful not being able to have like a break in between. So she gives me these pills or whatever, and she's like, you know, you can go home. So literally, you guys, like I get in the truck and we're on our way home, and I just like let it out. Like I'm sobbing because I'm in so much pain, and I already like couldn't breathe because of the pain, and now I'm like crying. So I'm like over, like I felt like I just couldn't breathe. Like it was so hard to catch my breath, and I'm like, okay, relax. But like every time I would try to like talk myself into relaxing, I would get another contraction, and it was just so painful. Just to remember, I'm just like, I cringe. But anyway, at first I want to say like the medication they gave me did nothing, but now that I think about it, I do remember coming home and like I was still contracting, but I was actually able to have like that moment of relief between each contraction. So I do feel like it helped in that sense, because I was able to like take a deep breath and relax for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I would have my next one. So okay, so we got home around 11 o'clock, and 2 hours passed by, and I literally was in so much freaking pain. I felt so bad for my husband, because literally like there was nothing he could do, and he would like just give me his hand every time I would get a contraction. I would just squeeze the hell out of it. But I tried the heating pad as well, which I do feel like helped. But anyway, you guys, so 2 hours passed by, and around 1 o'clock, I literally had like one of the most painful contractions. I literally feel like this was kind of like the onset for it to like where it got like even so much more intense. Like it was bad, and then this was just like unbearable. I literally get like such a bad contraction, and I'm just like squirming in my bed. Like if you've gotten contractions or whatever, and like you know what I'm talking about, when you're like you don't even know what to do, you're like squirming around trying to hold on to something because it's so painful. That was me. Anyway, and so literally I just feel like this like warm liquid come out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my water just broke. And like I wake up my husband because he was already dozing off, and I'm like, hey, wake up, my water just broke. He's like, you know, all panicked. He's like, what? Promise? And I'm like, no, I'm 99% sure, but let me just double check and go to the restroom and try to pee and see like what's going on. So I walk over to the restroom, and I actually did have to pee. So I'm like peeing, and at the same time it was like the weirdest sensation ever, because like there's like water coming out but also pee. Like I obviously could control my bladder, so I knew I knew me peeing, and then I knew the difference. Anyway, so I finished peeing, I get up, and there's just like water still coming out. So I'm like, God, this is my freaking water breaking. And it was so much fluid, you guys. Like I ended up changing, I put a pad on, I change, whatever, we leave, and then literally like it takes us about 20 minutes to get to the hospital, and this is us taking a toll because we live pretty far away. So we take the toll there, whatever, and we get there in about 20 minutes, and literally in those 20 minutes it took us maybe like 10 minutes to get up to like triage again. I was already like soaking through like that pad and my like shorts that I was wearing. And it was so crazy because from the first time I checked in to this time, it was like such a big difference. But anyway, I get into a room, they check me, and the nurse is like, okay, yeah, your water broke. And do you guys want to know how much I had dilated? Do you want to know? I was 3.5 centimeters dilated. I only dilated 1.5 centimeters in those like 2 hours. I mean, it was only 2 hours to be fair, but still, all that pain and like even my water breaking, I assumed that I was like, okay, like I'm pretty close. No, I was only at 3.5, and those freaking contractions were so intense and so painful. I would, if I had to scale like what they were when in the first time and this time, I would say like the first time was probably a good 7 and these were like a 10. So yeah, there was a difference in intensity, but they were both fucking painful. Sorry for the language. Obviously you can imagine when I came home at 10 o'clock I didn't vlog because I was in so much pain and we were so exhausted. So it's not like I could even get Edwin to vlog for me, and I honestly don't think I would have wanted to be on camera in that much pain and just crying and like just being, you know, in labor. So they checked me, they say yes, and I'm like, okay, I want pain meds. Like, I don't care what it is, like through the IV and epidural, like I don't care. And so they're all like, no, I mean, we can actually get the epidural ready for you if you're gonna want it. So I'm like, yes, I'm gonna want the epidural and I'm gonna want it ASAP. And so they're like, okay, yeah, we can start getting it ready for you, but we obviously need to put an IV in. We have to do COVID testing, and mind you, this is all obviously while I'm freaking contracting. So she freaking puts the IV in, she misses. So I even have like this, I don't know if you guys can see, I literally have this big ass bruise right here still. She misses, she has to stick me again, and I'm like doing this in between contractions, signing paperwork, signing for the epidural, and then the fucking COVID test. You guys, that COVID test is so not painful, it's so uncomfortable, and especially when you're in freaking labor, like it's terrible. But anyway, you know, they freaking do that crap, they move me rooms, and thankfully everything was like so fast. And like the girl that did my IV, she was, or the nurse, I don't know if she's obviously a nurse, she was like very upfront with me. So even when from the moment she was putting my IV in, she's like, just FYI, it's gonna be another 45 minutes to an hour before you get that epidural. And I'm just being honest with you. And I'm like, okay, I appreciate that, because I think that is what kind of like messed me up. Me coming home from the hospital and not knowing when I was going to get pain relief, I think just really did a number on me. And it was definitely like psychological, because I feel like when you go to the hospital, whether you're in labor or you're just in pain, you assume like, okay, I'm going to the hospital, I'm going to get help, I'm going to get relief. And you just like, you know, it's going to come eventually, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, it's going to be like, you know, in the next few hours or whatever. And I think me going home and in so much pain and being like, crap, like when the hell, like how long is this gonna take before I can go back to the hospital and they'll admit me and then I can get some relief, pain relief, or am I gonna be able to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that was what really messed me up, because I was just like, oh my gosh. So literally when my water broke, I literally prayed to God and I was like, thank you, because now I know I can go to the hospital and I'll get admitted, right? So anyway, so I was just thankful for that. They moved me rooms, and she was like absolutely right. It was like 45 minutes. I get into my room, I get the epidural, and I had to get stuck twice for the epidural as well. So I actually had like a whole bunch of bruising on my back too, which made everything so much worse, like postpartum, because like having to get up or anything like that, like my freaking back was in so much pain. So she stuck me twice, and I'm freaking out because she's like, have you ever had problems with the epidural? And I'm like, no. And she's like, okay, so but you have like some bleeding, I have to clean it up, and then we're gonna try this again. And I'm just like, oh my lord. And you know, they usually have you like crouched over and stuff like that, like for that, and you're like in an uncomfortable position already, and then you're contracting as well. Anyway, sorry if I'm talking so fast, you guys, but this video is so long already. So we get the epidural in. By this time it's like maybe 2:30 in the morning, and you guys, after that I knocked out, and I'm so thankful, and I have no shame in getting the epidural. It's been so long since I've had my son, so part of me was like, you know what, maybe, oh, and I also had Pitocin with both of my kids, so I was like, you know what, maybe I can do like natural labor if I don't have to get Pitocin, and like maybe I can do it without the epidural. But you guys, hell to the no. Like, I think if I was like a fast labor, like I started having contractions like at 2 o'clock, and then I had my kid like at 7 p.m. You know what I mean? Something like that, like possibly. But like being in pain for so long, and then like, yeah, no, it's gonna be a no for me. But anyway, after that I freaking knocked out, and I was able to get so much rest. And so like around maybe 6 a.m. the nurse comes in, and she's like, okay, let's check you to see where you're at, and then go from there to give a report to your doctor. And she checks me, and you guys, I'm literally at a 4. I went from 3.5 to 4. Like, this is it was, if I didn't already have the epidural, I probably would have been like I'm done, you know. But because I had pain relief, I was kind of like, I was disappointed, but I was like, hey, I feel okay, I feel fine, like I'm okay with like this taking so long. So I was barely at a 4. She's like, okay, you're barely at a 4. I guess that epidural really slowed things down for you, so I'm gonna give a report to the doctor on call, and then we'll go from there. Thankfully, at 7 o'clock, my doctor comes in. She actually was not on call and was not actually supposed to be there because she only had surgery that morning. And I assumed like she wasn't going to be the one to deliver me. So she walks in and I was like so happy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are you have surgery? She's like, oh, I just got out of surgery. She's like, but I'm going to check you and then we'll go from there. So, so she checks me and she's like, yeah, you're still at a 4. And she's like, and you actually feel kind of warm, so we're not going to check you anymore. They're supposed to limit exams actually once your water's broken because of the chance of infection. If you guys hear my baby, she's like sleeping in the back and she's like waking up. But anyway, she's like, so we're not going to check you anymore and we're actually going to go ahead and get things going. So I'm going to put you on Pitocin, and since you already have the epidural, you should be okay. And I was like, okay, like I'm down for it because, you know, I had been already so long. So I get on Pitocin. I get checked 2 hours later. So this is around like 9, maybe 10. And I went from 4 to 8. I was 8 centimeters dilated. So the Pitocin really did a number on me. And yeah, basically I went from 4 to 8. And then she said, okay, we're going to check you in another hour. If you feel pressure before then, let us know. And you'll be ready. We're going to push and we're going to have this baby. So yeah, she was right. It was like, and she was like, you may not need the full hour for us to check you. Like, you might need to push before then and obviously let us know. And she was right. Like 45 minutes passed and I'm like, I feel some pressure. And so the nurse is like, okay, like let me see. So I guess she tells the doctor like she's feeling pressure. The doctor, she says like, okay, have her do some practice pushes and we'll go from there. And oh no, sorry, I'm lying. She checks me. I think she gets the okay from the doctor to check me. She's like, okay, yeah, like you're ready to push. So then we start doing a practice push and she's like, okay, you know, we're gonna push and see how it goes. And like I do one push and she's like, okay, and stop. She was like, you're about to have this baby, so don't push anymore. I need to get the doctor and you know, you're about to have your baby. So yeah, literally my doctor got there within like 7 minutes. I mean, she was literally just downstairs kind of waiting around. And so she comes in, she starts like, you know, scrubbing in or like putting her gown on, and I'm like, ah, I feel pressure. And she's like, okay, hold on. Okay, so sorry, I had to nurse. Where was I? already forgot. I just realized that I didn't insert the clips, so I'm gonna insert them now. The first one is when I was like still at home and I was gonna go to the hospital the first time. So we'll insert that clip. So this is probably the start of my labor vlog. I hope, just because I've been like in prodromal labor for like 2 days. Like I've been getting contractions that lasted like for 2 hours and then they would just go away. And it actually happened to me this morning as well, which is so freaking annoying. But this time I think it's the real deal. It is October the 1st and it's like, it's about to be 6 p.m. I believe. I'll put the time right here. Let me see. It's 5:18. It's 5:18 on October the 1st. And I started having like pretty regular contractions around, I would say 12:30. And right now they're about 6 minutes apart and they're lasting like 50 seconds. So yeah, I just wanted to do a quick check-in before we head to the hospital, probably like an hour or 2. I want to like make sure it's the real deal, just because again, I literally thought I was in labor like 2 times before already. Not that I went to the hospital because I thought I was in labor, but I just kept like psyching myself out. So I just want to absolutely make sure. And I also want to make sure that, like, you know, there's some progress. I actually had an appointment this morning and I'm 2 centimeters dilated and 70% effaced. So I just want to be able to get there and hopefully be like 4 or 5 centimeters dilated at least. So I just want to absolutely make sure and give it enough time for that to happen. So yeah, the next time I check in, maybe we'll be at the hospital. But yeah. Then the second clip is going to be after I had the epidural. I was already at the hospital, but before I obviously delivered. So then I'll insert that clip right now. Hey guys, a quick update. Well, not really so much quick because it's been a long time since the last time I checked in or when I started this video. So it is October the 2nd at 9:03 a.m. and I ended up coming to the hospital yesterday. I think we got here like around 6 or 7, and I was actually had not progressed at all. I was still 2 centimeters and I was having contractions like every 5 minutes, which was such a bummer. And so basically they told me that I had to wait for 2 hours and they were going to recheck me, and if I hadn't changed that I would be going home. And they checked me in 2 hours and I actually was still the same, which I was like so disappointed because I was in so much pain already. So we ended up going home like around 11, and At 1 in the morning, my water broke. So, and I was still having the contractions, and I was like bawling my eyes out, which is why, I mean, besides the fact that I'm pregnant and I've been in labor for a long time, I'm also like super swollen under my eyes. I was like bawling my eyes out because I was in so much pain. So my water broke around 1, and I was like, okay, it's time to go back. So we came back, and I ended up getting the epidural. I'm 4 centimeters dilated now, only 4, which is still disappointing, but I also did start, or I got started on Pitocin for the same reason that my water's been broken for about 8 hours. So they want to get, obviously, the baby out before it's been a certain amount of time. And I agree because I'm definitely ready to meet her. And yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, you guys. So basically, I went from 4 to 8, and then it was time to push. We did that practice push. She told me to stop. The doctor came in within like 10 minutes or less. It was less than that. And yeah, I delivered her, and she was just perfect. And this is her. I'm not sure if you guys can see her, but she weighed 7 pounds 7 ounces, which is actually my smallest baby, which is crazy because I really thought she was going to be like 8 pounds or like 8 pounds and something. My daughter was 7'11", and then my son was 9'6", so I really thought she was going to be like in between. But no, she's actually small, which is really nice actually, because she's able to fit into all her newborn clothes. And it's just, I don't know, she's so freaking adorable. And yeah, I think I pretty much covered everything. Sorry this video is super long. I will try to condense it hopefully in some spots. But yeah, you guys, I did want to say thank you for all the well wishes on my last video, and then the messages that I've gotten. So yeah, thank you so much for that. And yeah, if you guys are ready to meet my baby girl, she's sleeping and she's also kind of swaddled up, but I don't want to move her. But this is her. Say hi, Vida. So this is Vanessa Portillo, and she's just comfortable. She's sleeping. I'm not sure you guys can see her that well, but oh, she's rolling her eyes at me. She's like, Mom, so annoying. I'm trying to sleep. Just kidding. I'm gonna try to upload a update on what I actually use in my hospital bag, and also like a postpartum must-haves. If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, you guys. Thank you so much for everything, all the support and love, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.